I'm Adrian Gobriel, and this right here is the pitch which the city of Toronto made to Amazon, and it's obviously a pitch which did pretty well. If you haven't already heard, Toronto announced today on the short list for Amazon's second worldwide headquarters. We're the only Canadian city on the list, and frankly, the only city named as a potential home for Amazon's next headquarters outside of the United States. And I'm joined right now by Ryerson University's Murtaza Haider. You're both a housing expert, a transit expert. We hear Amazon, we hear 50,000 high-paying jobs. Is there a need to be careful what we wish for here?
Absolutely. So starting with housing, if the average worker who would join this firm here earns significantly more than the workers in Toronto, then obviously there will be an upward pressure on housing prices. If you think housing prices are bad now, they should be worse later when high-paying, highly paid workers come in. It's the same thing that happened in San Francisco. It's the same thing that happened in other Silicon Valleys, and we should be prepared for it, and therefore we need to have safeguards against it. The other concern is public transit, but not just public transit, but mobility in the region. We do not have any redundancy for highways, freeways, or now even with the subway system. What we need is further improvement in the capacity of the system, and we want to make sure that if Toronto, especially downtown Toronto, the core of Toronto grows by 50,000 or similar numbers in the near future, that we have the transit system to support the mobility needs, that we do not worsen the gridlock, but we have means to ease it.
In the city of Seattle, Amazon's current headquarters, people there point the finger at Amazon when it comes to gridlock on the roads, as well as the increase in housing prices. Something that we should take heed and take a good look at.
I think we should be mindful of it. We should study cities where high-tech companies usually flourish. San Francisco is one. Housing is a big problem. Housing affordability is a big problem. It's not just the low-income workers who complain about it. It's actually middle-income workers and households that have been pushed out of the market. So we have to look carefully at what goes on when these high-tech companies come in large droves. The other concern is we're not certain at the pace of this development. Would it be 50,000 workers joining in over a 5 or 10 year period, or the 50,000 workers joining us in 10 months? So this pace at which this development would take place could put significant constraints, significant demand for resources in Toronto, and I hope that our political leaders who are in support of this proposal are mindful and are fully cognizant of the demands that this will generate on the system, the social system, the economic system, the public transit and housing.
And in closing, for those watching, this isn't a hard no against Amazon coming here, but if they were to come and we were to welcome them to our city, we need to put some safeguards in place when it comes to housing to make sure that there's affordable housing for people. We know we have troubles even housing people that are still living on the streets, as well as traffic and transit infrastructure.
Absolutely. It's not a no to anyone. We are a welcoming place. Toronto is a welcoming place. Almost 50% of the people who are here were not born in Toronto, so it is by default a welcoming place. The question is, how do we protect the interests of those who do not earn a living wage in Toronto? How do we protect the mobility or ensure that the roads and transit systems keep flowing? We have a lack of redundancy, both in transit and both in automobile movements, and we have to make sure that our transit systems, our logistics and supply chains remain functional and are not worsened in terms of gridlock but improve. And for this, we have to invest here rather than in the suburbs when it comes to public transit.
Thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
We'll hear more from Professor Haider ahead on City News. We also are going to be reaching out to some city councillors in Seattle. Be sure to tune in to City News at 5 and 6.